God. Crazy mood tonight. My first guest is a good friend. He's an ingenious man when it comes to comedy. He's just recorded an album with, get this, who do you think with? Richard Burton.
Wow.
Of The Little Prince, which will be released. We'll find out when it's going to be released. Would you welcome Johnny Winters? Jonathan?
Thank you.
The moment I thought you got out the old Army uniform there for a second.
Well, I was in my basement when I got the call. And so I dropped everything. Right. There were some squirrels and some things caught in the vent. And so I said, just stay where you are, gang.
You spend a lot of time in that basement because that's where you do all your painting.
That's where I do all my... Yeah. I'll do a lot of meditating down there.
Yeah.
Which is thinking about jobs, really.
They don't have many basements in California. You're from the Midwest, like
That's
Ohio.
True.
I'm from Nebraska, and every house had a basement. There was something secure.
That's right.
And give you a feeling of strength, and you go down to the basement to meditate or fool around.
That's very true. There are very few basements out here in California. Ours, when the rains do come, our basement floods, and it's always fun to go down there early in the morning to witness about that much water in the basement to see some of your favorite works of art floating. We really have watercolors very fast. And, of course, the furnace automatically shuts off, and I automatically don't know how to turn it on.
Are you bad at things like that around the house?
Very. I have I have no mechanical sense at all.
No, that's strange because you're an artist, and as an artist, you should have certain proportions.
No, I know nothing about cars. I couldn't. When the thing stops, I get out and leave it. Just put a sign on it. It's yours, fella. You see what you can do with it. And guys take me left and right, with the exception of a few friends who are kind to me, who say, we'll fix it for $16.95. Most of the time, the guy just a little, his eyes light up when you say that the refrigerator's on the blank, and he says, well, I think we can handle this. And you know the guy's going to add a little section to his mobile home.
Drapes for the bedroom?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's going to get a color TV set at night. And I always ask the question, which is so ridiculous, what's the matter with it? And which is standard for all of us, What's the matter with it? And he never gives you a simple thing. Well, this was normally... right away, that's going to be big figures when he says normally. Normally, this would be a minor job. But I think, boy, listen, and the parts are real hard to get for this. This will run about $116.36, and I'm letting you off easy. And then he looks at his little funny partner, who is on a tight line, and the guy goes...
Right, Rudy.
Oh, boy, yeah. But I am cursed from the standpoint that I have no mechanical sense at all.
This got into basements, I don't know why, but as a kid, I remember the Midwest, that was the sanctuary.
Oh, yeah.
You'd go down, you'd make lead soldiers, or you'd have your girly magazine squirreled away in the coal bin somewhere.
Sure.
Did you ever do that when you were a kid? Put shovel the coal into the old...
Yes, I had to shovel a lot of coal. And it's not much fun, really.
Yeah.
Again, you get up around 5:30 in the morning. When I was first starting in radio, I used to have to get up around 5 because the program started at 6. You got up about a quarter of 5. And we had to bank, what we call bank the coal.
Sure.
And
to keep it going overnight.
To keep it going. And I remember my wife, seems to me, several times came close to getting malaria because I would bank it and get it up to an all-time high of about 116. And she'd wake up, oh, my Lord, that's handling the heat. And this would be January or February when normally it was 5 below. And I'd say, well, sweetheart, you're in bed and I have to work. And
bank the furnace.
So you've got a little fever going for you. But no, I used to carry coal as a kid. I remember we had the little coal furnaces, little fireplaces.
Yeah.
And
little shuttle.
Little coal shuttle, right. and carry those up, which was...
Yeah, we come out of the same...
Oh, sure.
Right
Yeah.
back there. Hey, tell me about this thing I mentioned about doing an album with Richard Burton.
Oh.
The Little Prince.
Well, it was very interesting. I think, of course, and I'm sure most people out there would agree that Richard Burton is one of the finest actors we've got in the world, which is a very heavy statement, but I think very true. He's a fine, fine actor and a very interesting guy. Interesting thing, or not very interesting, vice versa, you can take it either way. We're one day apart, same age, almost. He's 48, I'm 48, he's November 10th, and I'm November 11th. We're a couple of Scorpios, and in case you people out there are just going through some quick little pages, hey, Scorpios.
I'm Scorpio. Are you Scorpio, too? And the same age as you are.
Strange, wild
Yes.
people. But he came in, we started recording around 10, and Richard came in, he had a little bit of a glow on.
He does nip once in a while,
he has a
doesn't
little
he?
touch, apparently, now and then. And, but he really performed very well, and we had Jim Backus was on, John Carradine, and I played, I don't know how many people are familiar with The Little Prince. It's a lovely book. It really is a beautiful little story, and good for all ages. I mean, I would imagine, I guess if you're around 58, you might be a little bored with it. Because of the pictures aren't the pictures that a 58-year-old person would want, but it's a lovely, lovely story.
Yeah.
I played the snake and the lamplighter, 2 parts. And
Well, what does a snake sound like? How did you get into a snake
that's
voice?
interesting.
I was going to say.
I did a little kind of a hiss, sort of to talk like this, and I've forgotten what voice I used for the lamplighter.
It wasn't a feminine snake.
No, I didn't use that. I remember I used that in the service one time.
Just when they said we're going overseas tomorrow. Oh, see you silly.
I walked up to a full bird one time, and full colonel, and turned to him, I said, "Isn't it an unusual day for an attack?"
And right back to the bunk. Right into the hospital there. Papers, and you're on the train going home to Ohio.
Yes, right, very quickly. Very quickly.
I got to take a break already? We're going to come back. You got a couple of pictures here we want to talk about. Freddie said you're doing something new that I want to see.
Yes.
Some little ink drawings. But we have a word from Toyota, small car specialist for 40 years. We're back. We're talking with Johnny Winters. What were we talking about? We got into your paintings, didn't we?
Talking about, working down in the basement. It's kind of interesting. A lot of people probably question it whether, I really paint in the basement, but I do. It's not a very chic place to paint, as I pointed out, but I find an interesting thing happens. A lot of artists will tell you, and it's very debatable, and probably most of the artists are right about that, that you should have a great north light and a very, very spacious studio and stand at your easel and do all these little goodies, which I find for the most part is true. That is, if your mind doesn't wander, and my mind tends to wander. So I am in very
like the
small
confinement
quarters.
of the basement.
I like the confinement.
That's security.
Having been confined. And
Not too far away from home.
Exactly. And so when you do come up out of the basement, it's a little bit of a treat, a release. And you're kind of thankful, hey, I'm not down there for...
It's like the papers have been signed and you're out,
right,
of course.
Exactly. So you're kind of an outpatient, come and go as you please. But it's a great little place for me to work. I've
You got some new things
last
here.
night you had Don Kingman on.
Yes.
An old friend of
I know
yours,
he
I
is.
know, and a friend of mine. And
One of the
he's,
fine watercolors in the
He's
world.
a great guy, wonderful little guy, a great sense of humor, and he's a lot of fun and excellent.
This is new for you.
I'm working in inks. These are
We'll get a shot over there.
Various ink pens, and they really give you bright colors. That's an unusual title. It's called a whale.
A whale.
Whale with teeth.
And a very colored, multicolored whale also.
But I've a lot of influence by the Indians and Mexicans and the Aztecs. South Americans do a lot of, as you know, bright colors with cloth and with their artwork. This is called, what is this called? Bird with a split personality.
Bird Seems logical.
Here's a religious bird standing on a religious turtle. Here's a man who hasn't got it all together. He's dressed up for something that just isn't going to come off. This is called a kitty who isn't paying attention. I have two more. This is pencil. This is not any. This is pencil. I don't know how much of it. This is called Hollywood Pool Man.
A little fish.
A little fish throughout his body there, and he's kind of far out with a strange little face.
You're selling fairly well, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
Since your art show.
Fairly well. This is called An American Easter. Titles are a lot of fun. People say, well, I don't understand. Where's the bunny and the eggs and things? But there's a lot of things going on in there, and you just that's the great thing about surrealism is that you see what you want to see. And
were you influenced by Dolly or anybody?
I have always been a great admirer of Dolly's. I like...
Most people forget that he is a fine, technician,
yeah.
And when he draws realism or does a seascape or something, it is absolutely startling.
He's a great, great painter. Paul Klee is another guy I've always enjoyed, and I have great respect for Magritte, René Magritte, who was a Belgian painter and surrealist who has great humor and a great painter.
What do you think of art that generally the prices nowadays has become absolutely fantastic, and paintings will like the Vermeer that was just returned in Ireland for $4.5 million for one painting. People, they find it hard to put that kind of a value on something.
I'd be a little scared to own something like that. I think
hang it on your walls. Could you imagine having a $4 million painting on a wall?
Yeah. I think that the thing to do would be to build a concrete room, blocks about this thick, walls, and just put the painting up on that and visit it once a month, under heavy guard, and just sit there with a flashlight or just look at it, and then say, "Okay, boys, let's go upstairs,"
and lock it up again.
But that's when you get up around that kind of money, boy, it's a lot of money for it.
It is incredible. Where are you going on vacation? Did you take that trip that you were talking about?
I'm going fishing tomorrow with my boy. We're going up northern California. I've got a little piece of property up there.
Now, do you paint when you're outdoors, or is that just for the basement?
I usually sketch in the evening when my boy is cruising. Driving, I guess.
He's that age, is he?
Driving around. He's 24.
Oh. Well,
I usually lie to people when people say, how old are your children? I have a boy 24 and a little girl 18. I usually say they're 5 and 6. We had them late in life. But I have a boy 24.
Well, at that age, you remember that age, don't you?
Well, you've got a kid. He's moving.
23.
Right, 23. But we're going fishing up north. We're going to go bass fishing, which is a lot of fun. And we're going to do that for a couple of days and see what happens. And if there are no fish there, then... I don't know, we'll probably go to Singapore for a few days.
Well, you always do that when the fish aren't biting, aren't you?
Yeah, when the fish aren't biting, you just throw your air travel card on the thing and let's go. But, no, I think about those people having vacations. I guess we all do. You know what? Yeah. The guy that only gets 2 weeks must be murder, because...
I can remember, and I still hold my folks in great admiration for a trip they made in 1936 where they put 3 kids. So I was 11, my brother was 8, my sister was about 13, in the back seat of a 36 Ford and drove from Nebraska to Salt Lake City, up the northern route to San Francisco, down to Los Angeles, back through Phoenix, Las Vegas, Colorado, and back up, all in 2 weeks in July, in the summer of July, in July, with no air conditioning. That takes a lot of guts. Would you do that?
I don't know if I could cut that.
That's courageous.
I'd send them on ahead. I think I'd probably meet them the last 2 days. But it's interesting because I think with a great many men, I've been fortunate. This hasn't happened to me very often, if ever. But a great many men have to satisfy their wives with the mother-in-law scene, you see, and father-in-law sometimes say. And she always says, well, I want to take my mother again this year for at least a week. Mother doesn't like it where she is, and I want to take her. And the guy's, oh, please. I suppose we're going to take your dad, too.
Yes, we're going to take Dad, too.
And there's always a problem with in-laws of, I didn't think we were going to go there. I don't want to go there. And that's all right if the guy would throw in some coins. But usually it's this. I seem to have left my money at home. I don't have anything. But I can remember vacations only too well when, like all of us, when we first started out. It was where to go, you know. You had about 50-mile radius, which is not too exciting in almost any area, especially back in the Middle West when you'd say, we go to a place like Silver Lake. And the lake was usually dried up. There were canoes just sat in the mud, you know. And a guy would pretend, you know.
We're here on vacation.
That was exciting. And the picnics and cows and this and that. And it was always...
Are we going to Silver Lake again?
Yeah, we're going to Silver Lake again.
I remember some of those.
And the fish were just floating on top of the water.
Hey, I hope you have a good time on the vacation. And I think you came in on short notice tonight.
Well,
and I thank you for coming in because I'm amazed at some of the stuff you're doing. And I know you got a split tonight, so I'm going to give you your paintings back, or I might put the arm on a couple of those.
Well, bless your heart.
Because I love your stuff, really.
Thank you. These things are available, incidentally.
Can actually be purchased for a coin of the realm.
And I think we could very honestly work out something.
A few doubloons.
I'm very flexible. If you're a little short on cash, some ties, some shirts, a smart ring with a Masonic crest on it.
Only if I get a tour of the basement.
Okay.
Also.
All right. Thank you,
Johnny. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Funny man, talented. My next guest I have known a long time. I think the first time I saw Johnny Winters was when I was back filling in for Jack Parr. A lot of people forget that Jack Parr had a morning show. Do you remember that?
Sure I do, yeah.
On CBS. He used to do it out of Grand Central Station. They used to do 3 hours. I don't know why I got into this, but I was thinking he did it at 7 in the morning and did 1 hour for the East Coast. This is all live. Then the Midwest and the East and West Coast would pick up the second hour. Then you would have to go back and repeat the first hour of the show live again for the western part of the country, which meant 3 hours a morning. And all of a sudden one day I was filling in for Jack, and this had to be, I think, in 1956 or 55, something like that. And they said, there's a strange man here. And Johnny Winters came out, and he was strange, and he was funny, and he's a brilliant and inventive guy, and it's always something to look forward to when he shows up here. Would you welcome Jonathan Winters? So you know,
Almost a standing ovation there. They were like this.
It was kind of a.
I guess
It's kind of a squatting
that's
ovation.
about as close as I'll ever get. I'm very pleased with that.
If they just make a move, that's enough. Now, when I said strange, you knew what I. No, I'm off the sauce. I'm off the sauce too. Yes, you know that. I have joined you.
I just have a little shaving lotion on. Just a little something. It's just to touch your tongue, you know.
just for old days,
Oh,
huh?
yeah, sure.
Just take a little sample of it. Now, when I introduce you as strange, you know what I meant.
Oh, I know.
You know.
Sure, I know.
The audience sometimes thinks that I mean mad or insane,
Yes,
and I don't mean that.
No, I understand. I think that there are a lot of strange people, you know. I was a strange child.
Were you really?
Yeah. I used to get up on the top of the barn with the pigeons. And, you know, just... And to see a man, you know, in full overalls go, hey, what's he doing up there? Then when I tried to jump down, why, you know, they'd stick you with a fork.
That kind of
made me
set
even
your life,
stranger.
yes. You never really lived on a farm, did you? Did you live on a farm?
Yes.
Oh, you
Yes,
did?
I lived on a farm first 7 years of my life.
Well, I didn't know
And
that.
I used to go along the creek banks, as we call them.
The crick.
Not creek. Later on in school, you were told, to say creek. But I still say crick. And
What the hell with them? You're out of school?
I'm out of
you know?
school. I paid their little bills. And, but I shucked corn and cut wheat. Made a great salary. I think 3 months, $25 was tops to get my bicycle. And I always tell my boy that, and he does this. Yeah.
Kids don't want to hear that,
They
do
don't want to hear that, and they're going to hear that until I go to the great place in the sky.
The great silo up there
Yes, the
somewhere.
great silo. But I still enjoy going back to the farm. I did want to tell you a little kind of a semi-funny story. Never want to say funny because they're, let's hear it.
That wasn't funny.
Wasn't funny. So I went back, I usually go back home, being from Ohio. I know you're from Nebraska, and you're Ed from Pennsylvania. New England. That covers a lot of states. I guess you owe some bills back there. The minute that's like my saying the Middle West. It's all right.
I went home this last weekend, to Nebraska.
Oh, did you go home to Nebraska?
I went home to Nebraska. Yeah.
We're up there.
Had a great time.
Two folks from Omaha.
Did you? But you returned home, huh?
I returned home for, my reason was for money. I went home to do a commercial just north of Cincinnati, and, guys, thank you. Nebraska and Ohio are tied. But at any rate, I went up to see an old friend of mine, Wally. I don't think we have to give Wally's last name. For a lot of reasons. But he had the big blues on, the big Benz, as we call the full bib overalls. And I went in to see him. He was getting ready for, it was fishing time now back home. It's been a couple of months now, I guess they've been fishing. They've had some tornadoes which took the majority of the fish away. And that will take every bit of line, Hey, boy, I was hooked onto that one, Hey, there. And then when you see the rod end reel, and eventually the guy goes, why,
it's bad fishing
is off for that,
of course,
for those couple of days. But at any rate, I went to see Wally, and he had the big cement tank there with the dead minis in it. And those are minnows, I should say. And, of course, there's some night crawlers and some garden worms, and that's pretty much it, plus some cheap fishing equipment. And so I walked over to Wally, and I said, Wally, how you doing? And he said, hey, real good to see you, John. What you been doing? And so right away I have to fill in, some 20 years. And he said, are you out there on Elmwood? And I said, oh, no. I'm not on Elmwood Avenue. I've been out there. Looked at him kind of, strange. He was looking at me. And I said, I left there when I went to war. Is that right? Are you out there on St. Paris Pike? Your mom was out there. Yeah, my mom's dead now, and so is my stepfather. Hell, he is. So now he said, well, where are you? And I said, I'm out in California. I was 11 years in New York, and I live out in California now. I was out there in Long Beach in the Navy during WW2. And I said, well, there were a lot of people in the Navy, I guess, up and down the coast. And he said, I was beat up there one night in Long Beach by some guy. I don't know what he was. Beat me up, but I managed to get back aboard ship with a real good tattoo. And so that was his experience in this western area. And then he said, well, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm in television, Wally. He said, Ruth Ann's got a Zenith. I wonder if you'd take a look at it. I said then, I don't know why I said this, but I said, no, I'm an actor, a comedian. And there was a long, long take. That's right. I remember you did that stuff in high school. Yeah, are you still doing that stuff? I said, I'm still doing that stuff. And he went back to the dead minnows.
Wally's not up on current events too much.
No. He has some friends that in the area that he sees, and he told me about them.
Let me cut away for a second.
Just for a second.
Certainly. There's only one place you find the Wishbone name: on fine salad dressings. Watch. We're back. Thank you, Doc. And we're talking to Johnny Winters, and we have Ellen Corby from the Waltons, Ed Bluestone, and Bud Greenspan. We thought we might have some fun, because John gets a kick out of doing this, and he did it all the time on his own show. And you're great at it, just improvising something. And we thought, since this is a political year, we just might set up a few little premises here and play a few different types of people. What do you want to start off? Maybe an old ex-president? Maybe the one living ex-president or something like that? Any particular name at all that...
Millard Settlinger.
Millard Settlinger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our great pleasure to talk with the only living American ex-president, Millard Settlinger. Mr. President, and I understand that you are always Mr. President, even though, of course, you are now out of office.
Oh, yeah, that's standard. You know, it's like a man is a colonel or a general, you know. He's always a general.
Uh-huh. Does Mrs. Settlinger refer to you as the president, or does she call you Millard?
She's in the basement a lot. And she's scotch taped down there to an old wicker chair.
I see.
I just, you know, after I got out of office, she was good to me in office and with me and helped me campaign, you know, and everything. She would always say the right hand, you know, and all that noise.
Woman behind the man.
Well, now she just sits in a chair and does this with potatoes or apples, you know.
Mm-hmm. Do you still keep active?
I phased her out.
Phased her out. Do you still keep active, Mr. President, on what is happening?
Oh, yes. I read everything I can get my hands on. I go through a drugstore real quick and pick them up, you know, and read them, and then end up with some milk, you know, cookies, rather than pay for the magazines.
Mr. President, now this question, I hope, Mr. President, you realize that I'm asking this question with all due respect of your office, but it's well known to the voters of this country that you were a poor farm boy.
Oh, gosh, we didn't have anything.
You became president. You come from a poverty-stricken family, and yet today you live in a $6 million home. And
well,
do you care to comment at all on that? How on a president's salary?
I really don't care to comment on that. I'm toward the end of my string, and I don't want it snapped. I did come into some money.
Oh, I see.
Through the people.
I see.
And I wrote to them, all the people in my state, you know, and I said, give me some money. And I don't want to go back to where I was in a little terrible house that we had with, you know, like this. And,
why, thank you for it. It's been nice talking with you.
Well, nice to talk to you.
How would you like to be remembered, Mr. Settlinger? Your greatest accomplishment as president that the people will remember you for?
Well, let me say this. And there's, you know, I know you're getting signs all the time in life. Give me the bottom line. Let's get to it.
Right.
For a man 86, I think it's a miracle my delivery is still darn good. All I want is a simple tombstone. Not really a tombstone, strike that.
No tombstone.
I want a parking meter with just expired on it.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now let's just go 180 degrees from that and take the role of a brand new eager beaver, young senator or congressman trying to run for office. Well, who would you like to be called?
Brainerd Stayfuss.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Brainerd Stayfuss.
Brainerd Stayfuss.
Brainerd Stayfuss from this district, who is running for United States Senator.
No, I'm running for president.
Running for president, I see. Well,
I have been a senator. I'm tired of that.
I see. You want to move up.
Yeah.
Don't you think you announced a little late, Mr. Stayfuss? to enter this race?
Better late than never. You know, that's one of our little things on our bumper stickers.
That's not exactly the most original slogan, I might point out.
No, it isn't, but we've been handicapped with only 6 people working in my staff, teenagers, a veteran of a war, and my brother, my sister, and myself. And I'm really excited because I got some fantastic ideas. I really do.
How does your program differ from any of the other candidates? What are you going to give the people?
Well, I'm going to give them more woods.
More woods.
More hillsides.
You're an environmentalist.
You better believe it. I live out in the woods a great deal of time. I'm an outdoor guy. You can look at this. Who would live indoors with this stuff? I love nature. I love nature. Mm-hmm. I love nature. I'd put a stop to the gun law. I think we ought to have guns, but they should be made of licorice.
Well, that's it.
So if you say freeze, the guy just bites the gun off.
Well, that's certainly a new approach, but you'll probably hear from the National Rifle Association about that.
You're going to hear from somebody all the time.
Right.
My phones are open.
So
we have 2.
Back to nature. Back to nature.
Back to nature is number
woods.
1.
Mm-hmm.
Taxes are going to be with us for a long, long time.
Right.
I'd like to eliminate 95% of them. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's then we don't have no Army, no Navy, nothing. Then you don't have so many things.
What about the rich? Would you tax the rich more? You think?
I don't think there are many rich left.
Nope. Mm-hmm.
I think you can get about 55 of them and put them in a good-sized semi and just take them for a hard ride. And I think they'll come around.
Mm-hmm. Well, Brainerd, is it Brainerd?
Brainerd Stay Foods.
Is that a family name?
I'm gonna definitely. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, this was a tough thing with my growing up. I was one of those kids, believe it or not, was very thin as a child and was beaten up through and into high school. And then my body took its place in life. And I turned on guys and dropped them, boy. That's another thing I'm going to put through, is to be able to drop a guy and get away with it.
Well, thank you, and I wish you luck on your race, Senator. Interesting prep. Now, let's try. Let's talk to one of the voters. Now, voters are confused. I'll just talk to a typical befuddled voter here, because your name, sir, is?
Alan Gornlinger.
Alan?
Gornlinger.
Goinglinger. Where are you from, Alan?
From the South.
From the South. Mm-hmm. Do you have any particular political affiliation at all? What bothers you, Alan?
Well, so many things. Mm-hmm. I like a pretty face. I think that's true of men and women. They like a pretty person. An uggo's no fun.
Uggo's no fun.
Uggo's no fun. I want to see a pretty face. I think a pretty couple in the White House would be nice.
Well, a lot of people, you see, Alan, think that is the problem with television, that people vote for the person's image rather than their intellectual capacity. And
I do. I vote for person's image.
For person? Mm-hmm.
I don't care what they've got in their gourds.
You don't, As long as they're pretty, nice
As long as they're
looking.
pretty, get on the plane pretty, get on the train, the bus pretty. That's all. Be pretty.
Be pretty.
Be pretty. Be pretty.
What do you do for a living, Alan?
Well, I've tried so hard to find myself. Mm-hmm. I feel for the young people. My son has had a hard time finding himself, and his grandson, or my grandson. Mm-hmm. My wife is having a hard time finding herself. We just can't find us.
I see.
So I think in getting a new president, maybe I'll find myself through him or her. I really, what I have. My late brother.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Oh, it's all right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right. I was waiting on him to go. He left me $46,000. That's nothing today. I just couldn't, I had one party and it was gone. But he would have wanted me to do that, I think. But I'm very happy. I travel around a great deal, just all over America.
Liking meeting pretty people.
You stay long enough in a good airport, you'll see somebody pretty. I found somebody the other day, a very attractive woman.
How about Mrs. Gunlinger? Is she what you would call a pretty woman? Did you marry her?
Yes, I married her about a year ago. I married quite late.
Oh, I see this.
I'm 50. She's 49.
That is quite late. And is there any particular
It's
reason
late
you
for
waited?
her.
Late for
It's late for me, too. She is just doing this. Yeah. That's with gum. So, how long we'll stay together, I don't know.
I thank you, Mr. Gunninger, for being with us. It's been nice to
Well,
get the voice of the voter today.
I appreciate being here. I'm sorry my wife couldn't get here.
Oh, she's not here today.
No, she fell off the bus. She bombed. But she got on with a young teenager on a motorcycle, and they went off into Bakersfield.
Thank you, Mr. Gunninger, for that voice of America. Look. Hey, it's always great to have you here.
Well, I hate to run. I'm
know you
doing
got-
a play in Bakersfield, and Albert Denler, Walker Stench, Martha Bradley Nindler, and
I love her.
myself.
Always have loved her.
We
The
made
first
over
lady of the
$75.
theater.
Yeah, made over $75 this past month, and where things are going to really pick up. We really believe that. It's called The Great Tree, and
The Great Tree.
The Great Tree. And I had forgotten the theater. You just it's way in back of some stuff.
I thank you for coming and give my best to that wonderful cast, will you? A crazy mind on him, hasn't he? Funny man. We'll be right back after this, so stay where you are.